You'll make this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
All right, good evening. Welcome into Greenie Sports Cards Live, the world's first multi-stream broadcast for the hobby industry, capped off by a live auction at 9 o'clock, which you guys can jump in on eBay Live with Alex, who will be in later, of course. And before that, throughout the next hour, we will be joined by a slew of guests that we're very excited to have this evening. Jam-packed show for you, as we do every Tuesday night here on Greenie Sports Cards Live, coming to you on a multitude of platforms of which you can comment, and we encourage you to do so if you're watching on YouTube or X or the old Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all points in between, and of course on the Sports Cards Nonsense Network. If you have questions for our guests, if you have comments, if you have any thought-provoking material, please go ahead and join that in the stream from which you are watching. And we can incorporate in the show and make you part of the action, which of course is the fun part of what we get to do here every Tuesday. Both Greenie and I have been doing this for about the last year and a half plus, almost 2 years here. And we are very thrilled with our partnership with Collectibles on SI, which is our presenting sponsor here on Greenie Sports Cards Live, part of the Sports Cards Network, Nonsense Network. And through their support, we're able to join you on, again, a multitude of streams. So we encourage you to join us on any of our socials and any commentary. We're going to be joined, of course, by our resident hobby expert, Headband Joe Wismirski of Phoenix Card Shop. Joe's got some updates for you, some news and views, including the Topps Finest Baseball, some perspective on that. We're going to recap some of the stuff we saw at the National. We'll continue to share some of that, and then we'll be able to look ahead, actually. Very excited this evening to be joined by Shane Winn, the communications director for the National. Of course, the 45th edition just took place in Rosemont last week. It's all kind of a blur at this point, I'm sure, for many of you. But we're going to get to talk to Shane about some insider baseball stuff that he saw. We'll talk about his journey in the sports and marketing world. And then we'll look ahead a little bit to 2026 and get his insight on what he's seen and what we can expect from there. So we appreciate you joining us again. Like, comment, subscribe, join us wherever you are watching. And we'll go ahead and welcome in the man himself who allows us to do that. That, of course, is Steve Greenberg, a.k.a. Greenie, owner, proprietor, and generally good guy, all-around good guy from Greenie Sports Cards. Greenie, welcome to your show, Greenie Sports Cards Live.
Thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate that. You left out janitor. I'm also the janitor of Greenie Sports
Yeah,
Cards.
chief cook and bottle wash janitor. Greenie, you wear a lot of hats. One of which we'll get into here in just a couple minutes. We've got some perspective on rifling through dollar boxes, if you will, some of the stuff you're looking for as a longtime buyer and seller and collector of cards, a little bit of insight on what you're looking for from a profit standpoint. Of course, you buy and sell cards, but we get to do all kinds of other fun stuff too, including shows. one of which is coming up. We do want to mention that you've got the TC Greenie coming up here locally. It's really the premier and the premier TCG show here in Northeast Ohio, and that's coming up on Saturday, August 23rd. Talk about that a little bit and your hundreds of tables, 800 tables that will be a part of this show.
Yeah, it's interesting over the last couple of years how popular TCG, Pokemon, Magic, all sorts of these cards have become. And we get a lot of vendors that come to these sports card shows. So, and we still welcome, they're still welcome at every show, but we're like, maybe we should try a TCG show only. And Broadview Heights is a location that we've been doing shows at for the last couple of years. And we talked to a couple friends and came up with a pretty cool name, TC Greenie, which now signifies, the TCG side shows. And, so now there's different, right? If we just say the Greenie Sports Card Show, that everything's going to be there. But if we say TC Greenie, you know what that is.
Very, very cool. So that'll be coming up on Saturday, August 23rd.
Before that is this Saturday is actually Kirtland as well. Coming right back off of the National, we have the Kirtland show this Saturday, Jeremy, where everybody does know your name. We can't wait for that. I mean, first show back for us after the National. So John's going to be there running that show, as Adam and I are going to head to Shipshewana and join Brad Beeman at that show this weekend. So there is no shortage of shows. We had lunch today and we discussed, maybe putting a segment on previewing some shows that are going to be upcoming, over the next several weeks, months, and years. But this weekend has shows in Kirtland, locally Middleburg Heights. I think there's a mall show, Great Northern, not ours, but someone else is doing a show there. Shipshewana is this weekend, 450 tables. There's a mall show in Pittsburgh that I believe is 500 or 600 tables. There's a big, I think it's called the Space Coast show somewhere down in Florida, Cape Canaveral or something, that's got hundreds of tables. So, I mean, there is no shortage of card shows, and they're the new hot, not the new, but they are the hot thing again. We've discussed it, tons of times. Nothing beats face-to-face transactions, Jeremy. And the amount of tables that are being sold at shows around the country is astronomical.
It really is. Speaking of cool shows, I want to give a quick shameless plug. We'll be down in Columbus this weekend for the Columbus Food Truck Festival. If you are anywhere within a couple of mile or hour radius of Columbus, make sure you head to the Franklin County Fairgrounds for the I think it's the 14th annual edition of Columbus Food Truck. And of course, the connection there is the Hobby Ohio. Chaz is the dude from Hobby Ohio, and we're looking forward to that event. But in speaking of events, there is no greater event for the hobby industry, for the collectors, for the buyer and sellers, and for the experience than the National. Just celebrated its 45th anniversary, and we want to give everybody a quick look back. I mentioned this last week, Greenie. The show is so enormous. It's a 650,000 square foot footprint within Rosemont this year, is a multi-level show. The fact that in the corner of that event is the TriStar Pavilion, and you've got over 100, upwards of maybe 150 celebrities and all-stars and entertainers and Hall of Famers. And some people don't even realize that piece is going on, but we were able to capture some great content. We want to give everybody a fresh look at some of the sights and sounds of the celebrities we were able to catch up with at the National Sports Collectors Convention.
Love the guy, great inspiration to me, what he did, and what he's doing now.
So there you
Yeah, that
go,
was a
Greenie.
pretty cool video. You saw Mariano Rivera pre-Achilles tendon tear, right?
Yeah, you saw all kinds of cool stuff. You know, in there, I think one of the coolest things, not just for the attendees, but the athletes and celebrities themselves that get to interact with each other. And there was a quick snapshot there of Dwight Howard hugging Cheryl Miller, and you get sort of some of those experiences. Last year, we captured Ray Lewis and Manny Ramirez seeing each other, and you imagine they don't operate in a lot of the same circles, and they know of each other, but those are pretty special moments too. So very cool stuff, and we're excited to welcome Shane Winn a little bit later, the communications director from the National Sports Collectors Convention, and we'll talk about again what he saw and what we're looking forward to next year. Greenie, we had another interesting segment for the collector base before we bring in Joe and Hobby News. You gave a little bit of insight on what you're looking for on when you're looking at cards and potentially buying cards. And you had a chance. Why don't you set the stage here with the dollar box, and then we'll show that quick video here as well for educational purpose.
Absolutely. We love to dig through boxes, dollar boxes, value boxes, and in turn, that's how we handpick the boxes that we put out for sale. We go through other people's boxes. And one of our friends, Mike Stafford, had a bunch of boxes that we wanted to look through, and he graciously allowed us to take those to our table to look at them, kind of at our leisure. And while we were doing it, I thought it would be pretty good to kind of give like a little bit of insight when we're looking through a dollar box, what kind of things that we like and what we like to price, where we send them. Do we put them on eBay? Do we send them to Check Out My Cards? And we captured a couple minutes, John and I going through the boxes and kind of going over a little bit of things that we do.
Well, let's take a look at that.
We're going through a dollar box because this is the kind of stuff we like to buy to price our 90s insert box. Okay, we'll get some to Check Out My Cards. Sorry, how do you know? But we like to look at his number and hit search with that is from the 90s. Check out. Hello. Like this is a die cut. This Hollow Green Heroes. They're not all die cut. It's worth a buck to me.
Here's a card. It's 1 of 100. So unique numbers like jersey numbers, first numbers, sometimes last numbers are always nice to have because people collect them. Here's a 1 of 750. JT Snow.
That's cool. We started making a box of all card number 1 of the print run, and we're going to see how many we have for the national next year. If we can get 500 to 1,000 cards that are serial number 1 of whatever. Fine. Here's a card number to 50. Nobody great. Greg Solis. I mean, we'll buy a card like that, number to 50. You never know what you're going to find in dollar cards.
Yeah.
You're just turning $1 into 2. That's all you money.
You might find a bunch of 10-cent cards and then find a $10 card. In a dollar box. It's never hell.
Oh, Randall Cunningham refractor to buy that.
These Basketball Hall of Fame numbered cards. It's
Yeah.
a set that's real popular. So anytime you find these are always nice.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if I can turn $1 into $5, that's a gem. Right?
So like a Kevin Williams gold, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. These came like in those uncirculated holes.
Oh,
Somebody took it over, but
out of $2.90.
okay. But somebody's doing the set of that. Yeah, left for $1, I'll buy that.
That's pretty cool though.
It is pretty cool. Total O, that's a good insert from the 90s. 96, 97.
And it's
Really
good color, right?
Yeah.
House.
Dude, this is a cool part. Thunder and Lightning. It pulls out on the bottom.
But on those like total lows, even if you have the non-SARS,
Yeah.
because people are trying to complete
That's right.
the sets, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Sometimes you just buy cards because you don't remember what they are.
Force field, is that?
Yeah, I would buy that for $1.
Other
They made cool inserts in the 90s. International refractor, Brad Johnson. Buy that for $1. A missile, Juan Reyes now. What do those are?
I think I've told this story several times, but probably in 2013 or 14, I found a card in a dollar box that I sold for $5,000 and redid some stuff at my condo at the time. And if I would own that card today on August the 12th, 2025, I'd probably buy two houses. But you live and learn.
That's how it goes. That's a pretty good return though on a dollar.
Yeah, it was a really good return on a dollar card, but it's a really, really valuable card. I probably wouldn't buy two houses, but I'd probably be able to buy one. I guess it
Very
depends on
good.
how much.
We had a special guest sneak peek appearance in there too by Joe, who'll be coming up here in just a little bit. We want to remind everybody too, we're very grateful to our presenting sponsor, Collectibles on SI. Of course, if you want to master the world of sports cards collecting, Hobby 101 from Collectibles on SI is your go-to resource for expert insights, market trends, and the stories behind the most coveted cards. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, Collectibles on SI helps you navigate the hobby with confidence. Part of the Sports Illustrated family, Collectibles on SI. Find it on SI. So very appreciative of them, Collectibles on SI, and of course, Sports Cards Nonsense with their support through the Sports Cards Nonsense Network. And our resident hobby expert, Headband Joe, is of course brought to us by Cut the Nonsense. You can see him every Wednesday night along with Mike Giuseppe and Danny Black on Cut the Nonsense. We'll go ahead and welcome in Joe Wismirski from Phoenix Card Shop. Joe, good evening to you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me back to give you some insight on what's going on in the hobby. I know we talked a lot about the National last week. So this week, it's a big week. It's Topps Finest Baseball, Steve. So
Can't wait.
It's big. It's actually a very rare Tuesday release. It released today. So Topps Finest Baseball.
What days do cards generally release?
Wednesdays and Fridays.
Okay. I didn't know that.
That's typical. Topps Finest Baseball. It's trending to be probably the highest retail cost that it's been ever. As of right now, we're looking at about a $500 a box.
What's driving that?
There's a lot of factors. I mean, the baseball hobby is doing great right now, just period. And also, what I believe, this is going to be your first opportunity to get a Nick Kurtz rookie auto. So Nick Kurtz, who is trending to be the rookie of the year in the American League. If you can scroll down a little bit, Jeremy, you'll see he is for the Oakland Athletics. He plays first base, big lefty. He's just absolutely smashing the ball. Him and his teammate, Jacob Wilson. Jacob Wilson got hurt. He was leading the rookie of the year. And then Nick Kurtz just came in and he's done phenomenal. It also is the reemergence of a lot of 90s inserts that you were speaking about. I mean, the creators insert, it's back. And then there's some other short printed inserts like, and right there is the Nick Kurtz green auto. Just beautiful. Number to 75, a little bit of a color match there. But this is what I believe is his true first rookie auto. And Topps said that they were going to do things like this, Steve. So as players started to emerge in this rookie class, they knew that it was somewhat a little light when Series 1 came out. So as people started to emerge, they knew that they were going to have to beef up some of the products. And so this is absolutely what we're looking for here is Nick Kurtz. And also you're looking for Jacob Wilson. What's up, Sam? The other thing on this is with Topps Finest, it's another product where you need to pay attention to the base cards because on the back it's going to show you if they're uncommon, common, or rare. So they have different levels to the different refractors that you're going to be getting.
Okay. I like it. Everybody likes like the gold refractors and all those different things.
Yeah, Steve, this has supers. And everyone's always chasing for a superfractor, and it's in the product here. You have the ability to pull that. And the cards are gorgeous. My only thing, yes, I have a thing, Steve. It looks like a Bowman's Best. It looks a little bit like, there you have patch autos. It looks a little bit like Cosmic Chrome. I really like
Ah,
baseball cards to have like the stadium in the background, that kind of stuff. I think the photography is absolutely beautiful on a lot of the cards and the digital technology we have now. And this is more of the futuristic, shiny,
sure.
but it's beautiful. And again, it's a very, very popular brand, Topps Finest, going back all the way to the 90s for baseball and basketball. The refractors are what people are looking for. And I honestly think with it coming out at this level, it's just getting to that point where we're kind of testing the waters to see potentially what Bowman Chrome's going to be price-wise for Topps Chrome update, what that price will be, because now you'll have the ability to prospect, hunt, and Bowman Chrome. But then when update comes, maybe Nick Kurtz will be in there for an auto too. So again, beautiful inserts. It brings back, just like what you said on the previous video package about sifting through those dollar boxes and finding those inserts. This will be something you'll have the opportunity to do within this product. It's just going to come with a very, very heavy price tag.
How many boxes in a case?
8. 6 packs.
And this is like 2 boxes in a box, right? Is that how Finest? No.
It used to be, absolutely. It used to have the 2 mini boxes, Steve, but now it is just a 6-pack box.
6 packs, $500.
That's correct. You heard me. There's no lag. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no lag, not whatsoever. Well, listen, it's a risk reward product. So, you can hit that Derek Jeter, maybe you hit an Ohtani or somebody like that, and,
Yeah,
but the rookies, right? You never know.
It's a rookie heavy product, but again, I really think the big driving piece, there is a great veteran checklist. Don't get me wrong. Sandy Koufax, Derek Jeter, Trout, like Hall of Famers, you have that too. There are some buybacks in here also. Buybacks. But Nick Kurtz, I mean, if you're an Oakland A's fan, or excuse me, we can't say Oakland anymore. If you're an A's fan, I don't know that there's been a product in the last 10 years that you really had a guy that you were chasing, to be honest.
Mike Mahan likes him.
Saw the jersey.
That's right.
Big fan.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Listen, I mean, players that are hot, we like. I mean, Cal Raleigh's still killing it, right?
Yeah, Cal Raleigh. I mean, again, someone that they did not foresee doing that and was not in Topps Chrome. So if he continues and wins that MVP,
will he be in this?
I am not sure.
Okay.
But for the buyback, Topps Chrome update is what, I mean, if he wins, that's going to be what they accept. They'll accept update Chrome cards for the buyback.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah. But this is a huge product for baseball, Steve. I mean, Finest every year is huge. It did really go from like a maybe $199 box, $250 to now $500. Typically not a product that has patch autos, but they do have them now. But this might be something that you'll have to either buy with a buddy or buy into a break and buy a team. Because it is a tough, I mean, you're looking for 2 autos in this, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get the money out of it unless you have one of those enormous cards that are sitting in there. And again, like we mentioned, it does have the beautiful superfractors sitting in here. So
Joe, you've had a week to get home and kind of get back onto Arizona time from the National. How was the week last week inside the Phoenix Sports Cards? Were people coming in wanted to talk about the National, how your experience was there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a lot of people drop in. They asked what it was like. I just shared that, it's huge, right? It's hard to, it was hard to kind of take in the entire experience, but then it's hard to also be able to articulate what it's like. Like, I mean, I think probably the most frequently showed picture was the gentleman who brought up that lunchbox full of maybe close to $150,000 worth of cards, with all the mantles and then the Willie Mays. Like,
yeah,
I said,
that was fun.
This is something that you could expect to see when you're at the National. And not the gentleman had any idea or any thought that he wanted to sell anything, but it's a lot of showing off what you got.
I know Jason from Wisconsin stopped into the store. There was a big show that Cole put on last week, and right after the national, right? And then now, we have some shows this week, and I think next week is the West Coast card show in Burbank, right? That I believe Rob's got 250,000 square feet there. So the card shows everywhere in the country are just kicking it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Cole's show down in Mesa, it was, huge. It was packed. Jay was actually in today in the shop, a mutual friend, and he was talking about how packed it was in there on Saturday and Sunday. There was another VFW show. Just smaller shows that were just packed. To your point with Jeremy earlier, there is no shortage of shows, and it doesn't seem like there's a shortage of people that want to go to the shows too.
Okay.
It's just finding your niche, and then also making sure that you're comfortable as a buyer at these different locations. That I will tell you, out here in the Valley, loyalty is huge. So as big as that show was out in Mesa, Dave Ramos had a show, and he had a packed house too. Like, it was packed. I didn't get to enjoy those. I was at a fundraiser car wash in 114 degree weather, in case you were wondering. But I did teach a lot of guys about cleaning the suds off. So
wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
Were you wearing a scarf, Joe, at the car wash?
I wasn't wearing much, Jeremy, but I was appropriate.
There's that image.
As long as you had a headband.
Yeah.
Good.
All right,
Well, Joe, we appreciate it as always.
Yeah, real quick though, Greenie, this isn't necessarily breaking news, but something pretty unique is going to happen tomorrow night with Cut the Nonsense.
That's right.
You want to tell everybody what's happening there, Joe?
Yeah, so we have typically filmed shows on Monday mornings, and then they air live, and we get into the comments and give the feedback there. We are actually going live tomorrow, so that'll be interesting for people who have been behind the scenes. There have been times where we've had shut it down moments and walk off the screen. So this will be interesting. It'll be fun. Just to give our
there's no dump button tomorrow. It's warts and all. We're gonna air it out.
Absolutely, we are.
And that'll be at what time, Jeremy?
It'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Cards Nonsense YouTube. And so, yeah, you got Mike and Danny and Joe, and they have a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. If you're in that room with those guys, it's different from what we do. Those guys, they're a lot more in tune with the products, unlike myself. So you guys get to talk about product and show experiences and all that kind of stuff. So, and they have a lot of laughs. It's a fun show. So make sure you guys tune in at 8 o'clock to Cut the Nonsense every Wednesday, but tomorrow night will be live.
Yes, sir.
We're very happy to be a part of it, producing that show. So we'll be in there live with you behind the scenes while you are on these 3 panels.
I'm excited. It should be fun, gentlemen. I appreciate you.
Yep.
All right, Joe, we appreciate you. Thanks for joining us as you do every week for Hobby News.
Yes, sir. Check us out at PHX Sports Cards. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
All right, there you have it. Resident hobby expert Joe
That's right.
Wismierski, Phoenix Card Shop. And of course, you can see him on Cut the Nonsense every week. Really cool stuff, great perspectives. And coming up, we've got a tremendous perspective from a gentleman who is intimately involved in the 45th National Sports Collectors Convention from the communications side, running points, all points in between. And that is, of course, Shane Winn of Winn Communications. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and welcome Shane in.
Hey guys, how's it going?
We are good. Our legs have digested and getting back to normal. How are you doing after that whirlwind of a show?
Well, so I brought a pair of sneakers on Monday that looked really nice. And by Wednesday, my daughter had come and brought me my other pair of sneakers, my On Clouds, and that really did the trick. So, like, walking 30,000 steps a day on concrete can take its toll. So, the old adage of like, what's your best advice for someone coming to the National? Bring comfortable shoes is pretty solid stuff. But otherwise, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, pretty energized. I mean, a great show makes you leave the show feeling pretty energized, and I would say it was a pretty great show.
It is, Shane. It's beyond a great show. It defies explanation if you've never seen it. We said it's a 650,000 square foot footprint, the largest cardboard candy store in the world. You saw double-digit growth this year from attendance from 23 to 24, and again this year 24 to 25 in Chicago. It's going to be back there for the next 2 years. The vote took place announcing Detroit for the year following. So there's a lot to get into from that. You had more dealers, you had more action. We saw more families, we saw more generational stuff. What was that piece or pieces that energized you coming off the show?
Yeah. So before we get started on that, shout out to Greenie, right? Shout out to Greenie Sports here. This is really needed. Having this live podcast is outstanding for the hobby. So shout out there. Shout out to SI Collectibles for being behind it. And of course, our friends at Sports Cards Nonsense. And having Joe on before me with Phoenix Sports Cards is pretty awesome. I'm very humbled in his presence. Jeremy, like you, I'm not a massive collector compared to a lot of people. I just kind of play one on TV. Like I am now. So I'm also feeling kind of left out because you guys are all hat guys. So I'm gonna give you mine. So now we'll talk national. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, like double-digit percentage growth year over year for 2 years, between 23 and 25. You use the phrase world's largest cardboard candy store. I can't take credit for that. That is our good friend Jim Ryan, who's 1/3 of JBJ Productions. Those guys have been running this show now for 2 years and doing a bang-up job. And really, they're just getting started. So, overall, you recap some of it. I would say more people, more families, more experiences, and more excitement at trade nights. Like those 4 things to me are sort of categorically the really notable stuff of 2025 at the National. And in all regards, I would say people walked away from that show pretty jazzed about what they got to experience. Everything being very hobby focused. That's always what the National is going to be, right? It's always in service of the hobby, the dealers, and the collectors, and everything else is that cardboard candy store. But you put it all together, and Rosemont for 5 days was pretty epic this year.
Yeah, and that footprint of 650,000 square feet, it's one thing to tell people how big that show is. It's another thing to actually see it and be on the floor.
Yeah.
When you were probably in that room, I have to imagine the Sunday or Monday, but before anybody else came in. When you walked around that floor before the show even started, like what were you thinking?
Yeah, so I got there on Thursday the previous week, because we were setting up time lapse cameras all through the hall to capture a variety of like builds, right? To see all that going on. And I've been in a lot of big halls in my life. I've never been in a hall this size for this kind of convention. It's mind numbing to some degree. So my first experience was walking it as crews were loading in and just starting to build everything. And I wanted to walk the floor and get a feel for like where the different segments were. And there's kind of 3 main segments, to the first floor. And then now we've got this upper floor that's a new extension to the show. But I'll tell you, after everything was built and I came back the next week, it took me 3 walks of that floor before the show even began, before I felt like I really had an understanding of where everything was. I kept running into things I hadn't seen, and I was kind of surprised. But that's kind of what the National is. And I mean, it's the reason why so many people buy these passes for the entire week, because it's hard to experience the National in one day. it's just so immense. And I would encourage people to come for multiple days. A lot of people do. And yeah, so it was awe-inspiring, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I had the same thing. You know, I obviously wasn't there the week prior, but we get to load in on Tuesday and set our stuff up. And I was walking
Yeah.
around, and I probably had to turn myself around 3 or 4 times and think, where am I? You know, and the funny thing is I've been going to this building for 20 years, and not
Right.
just for the national, but other shows that are in there,
Yeah.
and to not be able to know which way you're turned, which way is out, and the Ludex interactive map was terrific and very helpful.
Oh,
And
I was just going to say, thank God for Ludex, right? Because
Yeah.
they saved the day in that regard.
absolutely. So yeah, there's a lot of things, and the great thing is now everybody that came this year will know what to expect next year. I know it'll be bigger a little bit, but they'll have an idea of exactly where the corporate's going to be, where the breakers are going to be, and
Yeah.
then where the traditional booths are going to be, and then obviously upstairs. But the layout will be pretty similar next year, but maybe a little bit larger.
Yeah, it's well, I would say definitely. I mean, we've always had a situation where there's more demand by dealers to get into the show than the availability of spaces to put them, right? And so the national and the board have been very thoughtful on the way in which they make space available to people, right? On a variety of factors, including the number of years, that you've been showing at the national, which is great. But there's still been that demand that was unable to be realized. So with Rosemont, we had that great opportunity. You've got that upstairs. You go up those escalators out of the main lobby. Now you've got that huge space up there. We had 75 new dealers, not all new dealers. Other people that were existing dealers took space up there, but 75 new footprints for people to be able to transact and interact and showcase and everything that you do at a card show. And it was overwhelmingly successful. There was so much foot traffic up there. And so that space we're looking very, very carefully at for 2026 on how we can use that space, because there's a lot more there and there's a lot of different ways that we can use it. But again, expect that we'll be focusing on the dealers as we think about ways to expand how we use that space.
Shane, there's a lot of stakeholders involved, and I've had the good fortune to be intimately involved in that process. You've got first of all, 45-year history. There's a board of directors. There's a license out to a production company, in this case JBJ. You've got the dealers, you've got corporates, you've got the attendees, you've got hobby enthusiasts. There's a lot of moving parts, and the reality is, this show is so immense. There are only so many cities that can handle it. There's only so many venues across the country. And it is still run by a vote. And the dealers have an opportunity to have a say in where they want the show to go. It is going to Chicago the next 2 years, 26 and 27. At this event, there was an opportunity for Atlanta and Detroit to present their case and make their case why the National should bring the show to their cities. And Detroit won by a vote of the dealers. Let's look ahead a little bit and take us through. Of course, it'll be in Rosemont the next 2 years, and then in Detroit. Let's work backwards a little bit.
Okay.
What is it about Detroit that is so exciting, and why should people be excited about heading to Detroit in just a couple of years?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, there was no bad decision there, right? Atlanta would have been a fantastic location, and I'm sure is going to continue to be on future lists. So, like, the National would have been happy going to either city, but we love the fact that the dealers really help drive this because they're the most important element of the National, and will continue to be that. So, Detroit is amazing for a number of reasons. First and foremost, the amount of investment that city is doing right now and has been doing for about the last decade in revitalizing that downtown sector, and where we're going to be right off the water there, looking over at Windsor, right on the other side of the river. That area has become such a great entertainment district that when you think about Rosemont, you think of the value of being in Rosemont. There's so many different elements to it, including all of the hotels that are within walking distance of there, all of the restaurants that are not inside, Don Stevens, but directly adjacent to it. It's like a little self-contained entertainment area for the entire duration of your stay there. Like, you don't have to get into a car for 5 days if you don't want to, and you can still do everything that makes a person happy in the span of 24 hours. Detroit's becoming that, right? You got a JW Marriott that's being built. That thing's going to be done, I think, by 2027, which is going to add significant capacity from a room standpoint to the ability for people to do the same thing, right? To be in a location that is adjacent to a giant hall that's got the capacity to be able to handle the National and what it looks like in 2028, right? So we're at 650,000 square feet now. I don't know what we're going to look like by the time we get done with 2027 here in Rosemont, but it's not going to be smaller than 650. So to your point about cities, yeah, there's a smaller number of cities that have the capacity, but Detroit's sexy right now, in my opinion. It's an up and comer. It's new, it's shiny. There's all kinds of stuff to be able to do. They've really thoughtfully planned the way that city operates in the downtown district, and that suits the National perfectly.
Yeah, we talked about it last week on our show when we kind of recapped, because everybody says, well, why isn't it this city? Why isn't it Orlando? Why isn't it Vegas? There's only so many cities that meet certain criteria of floor space, hotel space, and booking time. The National likes to book 3 to 4 years ahead of time because of all the different logistic things. So not every city, some city may have the floor, Anaheim, and then they have the hotels, but you can't book 4 years in advance there. So there are only so many cities that will allow. And I know that every people always say, well, the city they live in should host the National. I totally get it, right? But that is why there's certain cities that meet this criteria. Atlanta and Detroit are two of those cities, and you're right. I think either one would have been fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you look at the Super Bowl, right, for the NFL. Like, I was there in Vegas, when they did the Super Bowl there 2 years ago, and Vegas is a great example of like an environment that is perfectly suited to handle the capacity of an event like the Super Bowl. And I prefer world's largest cardboard candy store, but a lot of people call the National the Super Bowl of card collecting, and I think that's very accurate. There are a certain number of cities that can handle events of this magnitude, and fortunately, the ones that can today are all very desirable destinations. So, as I look forward to the choices the dealers are going to have to make, there's a lot of really good choices that they're going to be able to choose from.
Shane, we had an opportunity to see the show in Rosemont coming out of COVID. That was 2021, and it was unlike anything I'd ever seen, certainly since 2000, having attended a number of nationals. There was an explosion in the industry. We thought, okay, it's coming to Cleveland. Where's this going to go? How do you top it? It went up a whole other level. Then we go back to Chicago, and it's up a whole other level, 20% by some measure. Where are we going next year?
I mean, look, Market Decipher, which does a lot of analysis of market size of various industries, estimated that in 2025, this industry, the sports memorabilia and trading cards market is valued at around $33 billion, right? By 8 years from now, by 2034, they're expecting it to be over $270 billion. Get your head around that for a second. The industry is growing at a record pace as you compare it to other industries right now. It's impressive. And so 2026 for us is just going to be making sure that we continue to serve the growth of that market in the most respectful way, that we can. Again, focusing on the dealers. So I expect there's going to be more dealers. I expect there's going to be more people. I expect there are going to be more corporate partners, more activations. And, just a note on the activations, like one thing that was really cool this year about the National was the corporate activations that were happening were very hobby focused. It was really interesting, right? Like you had Tom Brady showing up, but he was showing up because he was opening a card vault in Wrigleyville on Clark across from Wrigley Field, right? That evening. And so he showed up to do some hype, on the front end. Gronk came in for eBay, and Rob Gronkowski was signing balls and throwing them out and giving people memorabilia. Giannis and his brothers were doing the same thing. These guys were signing basketballs, and they were tossing them out to people who were answering correct questions of family trivia for he and his brothers, right? So it was all very memorabilia focused in the activations, but I expect that you're going to see more and more of that because the audience is growing and growing and growing. And that only makes it more attractive for corporate partners to be able to do activations. But, they all seem to have figured out this formula at the National, which is like, if you make those activations really hobby focused, that audience is going to respond really, really positively. So I think you're going to see more of that.
It's also amazing to see how many of these athletes and other celebrities are into the collecting world. And they're just walking around buying. Now, I understand that some of the cameras follow Tom Brady, but Grant Williams, who plays for the Hornets, is walking around buying and selling cards. Jared McCain, a basketball player, was walking around, and I know that there were other people that were there. I mean, there was basketball coaches that we know that were there, and it's really interesting how many people are really into this market now.
Yeah, it's fascinating when you see celebrities operating at the same level as any of us that are walking the floor because they're geeking out on something that they're chasing, right? And that's happening more and more every year. And I love seeing it. I'll give a shout out to Brady. Like I had an opportunity to be pretty up close and personal with some of that stuff this year, and it seems very genuine to me. Yeah, there's a market opportunity here and there's an ability to make money, but guys like him are pretty genuine in their love of the hobby and the collecting space. And we got to appreciate that. So seeing those guys walking the floor and seeing other guys that were just there incognito, that were doing some collecting, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. One thing that we didn't touch on and we know that we wanted to talk about is your background. And I know before you came to the National, you were in sports marketing for, I believe, 15 years or something like that. And how is it that it came to be that you got involved with the National Sports Collectors Convention?
I'm going to give a shout out to David Marino, who's a very, very good friend of mine. And, for those who know David Marino, guy's a force of nature in a really positive way. And I appreciate the ability to do that. So David and I knew each other previously before I was involved with the National, and the backstory there is that JBJ was they knew they were heading into Chicago for 3 consecutive years, and that's kind of a new thing for the National to be located in the same place for multiple years like that, and they saw it as an opportunity to put down some roots. And in order to do that, you need to have people on your team that have those roots already in that city. And I'm from Chicago. Like I'm coming to you live from Evanston, Illinois, which is the home of Northwestern University, but just north of the city. But I've been a resident of the city for many, many years. And so I have a lot of ties here. And they were looking for somebody, doing communications and marketing and PR who understood the vibe of the city, was well connected, understood the media landscape, and would allow them to be able to come in not feeling like an outsider, but someone on the inside. And to that point, like I've had a relationship with Curtis Granderson, whose name I will drop because he's not only a friend but is now part of the National family. Curtis Granderson runs an organization here out of University of Illinois Chicago called the Chicago Baseball and Educational Academy, when Curtis retired from baseball a number of years ago, he really wanted to give back and use the sport of baseball as a way of doing it. And they were looking, the guys were looking to develop a community partnership. And one thing we know really well is trading cards, right? And we understand all of the things that you can learn as a result of being in the hobby of trading cards that are like life skills and lessons, like entrepreneurialism, capitalism, community building, negotiation, all of these skills that can help you later in life. And so we brought this idea to Curtis of like, can we build a curriculum for young kids, and can you help us deliver that curriculum to your audience that's already really dialed in on the game of baseball? He loved it. It was a sort of a meeting of the minds from the front end. And just before the National, we launched the Youth Collector Clubs Initiative, which is a partnership with Curtis Granderson's organization here in Chicago that uses trading cards and how you trade as a way of teaching kids those life skills that I was talking to. It's something that the National is wanting to build a sort of a legacy. So if you think about the way the Super Bowl operates, every year it goes into a new city, and what it leaves behind is a legacy with money and programming to help future generations fall in love with football. We want to do the same thing with card trading, and we started it out this year. We're going to dial it in for the next 2 years with Curtis, and then we're going to go to Detroit with it. So, that's how I came to be here, was they were looking for somebody that had that ability to do it. And I was thrilled that we got to make that marriage happen.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was going to say, Shane, one of the strange things about being an event producer or living in that space is that you have to project 6 months out, 8 months, a year out, and live in the future, but you also have to be present when stuff is taking place. Was there a moment during the show for you, or even after, upon reflection, that you were able just to kind of take a breath and go, man, this is pretty cool?
Okay, yeah. So let me put you in the picture of one of the things that we did on Saturday. So Dave Hunt of Hunt Auctions has on consignment a baseball, and that baseball is a 500 home run club ball that was first signed by Babe Ruth, and it has since subsequently been signed by pretty much every individual in Major League Baseball who's achieved 500 home runs or more in their career. And on Saturday morning around 11 o'clock at the TriStar Autograph Pavilion, we had Albert Pujols and Miguel Cabrera within 15 minutes of each other signing. And so we were able to architect a moment where Dave was able to present each of them with that ball, tell the story behind it, and got each of them to sign that ball. So now those two guys, who are the latest in that club, have their signatures on this ball. It was hard to find a space for the signature, which is really awesome. But there was a moment there where I was standing behind both of them, and we were doing all the content capture and everything for it, where I thought, wow, this is something that very few people on earth are ever going to be able to experience live. It was a very moving moment for me, and I know that a lot of other people have had much more impressive moments, but that was a big one for me.
I saw the video of Miguel Cabrera holding the baseball and
yeah,
on the laces, and then I knew that Pujols was there. I haven't seen that. I think Jim Thome is the other one that needs to be on that baseball.
Jim is the other one that needs to be on that baseball, and I think once that happens, and I believe there's a plan in place for that, you may see that ball on the market in the fall. So,
I mean, does it get cooler than that? The other piece that we saw at the National was the Patrick Ryan had the Babe Ruth piece of paper, and he worked his way around to Gretzky, Lionel Messi, Tom Brady, and then Michael Jordan. And I mean, there's things like that are just so unique that, you all the way back to Babe Ruth held that piece of paper and Michael Jordan held that same piece of paper. Like, I mean, and again, that baseball, Miguel Cabrera held a baseball that Babe Ruth held, and there's no other reason that could happen.
No, I mean the National makes those moments possible in a way that it's hard to find that opportunity anywhere else. And we know that. We know that there's a piece of magic that exists here as a result of the mantle that we wear, right? It's always there's always going to be a bit of reverence to those moments because we're all fans, right? We're super fans of it, and to be able to experience those things ourselves, but to create an environment where so many other people get to witness that moment and be able to walk away from the National and say, I never would have been able to see that or do that or experience that or hear that if I had not been here at that moment in time. Like that's what drives people here and it keeps them coming back.
Yeah, it is. It's unbelievable. There is nowhere else on earth like it. It's 1 week of just the candy shop or however Jimmy Ryan calls it. We can't wait to be back, and the same place next year, the same footprint, just a little bigger, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and you alluded to it earlier. Like by 2027, the fans, the collectors, people that are coming, they're going to be dialed in because they're going to know the floor footprint. It'll change here and there a little bit, but they're going to know where they need to go and where they want to be, and it improves the efficiency. Meanwhile, on this end, from our end of it, we're working in the background right now on like, what are the things that we can make even better? What are the new things that we can bring to the table? I will give you a wink and a nod to world's largest cardboard candy store as something to pay attention to moving forward. But there's a lot of stuff that's on the table right now, and it's all really, really good, and it's all in service of the hobby. So we're really excited about 2026.
Well, Shane, we can't thank you enough for taking some of your valuable time to talk about just the greatest show in the hobby space. And we appreciate everything you and your team has done for the hobby in this event. We really can't wait until next year. And we wish you the best of luck and continued success.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Greenie Sports Cards. You're the best. Awesome partner. Appreciate it.
We appreciate it, and we'll see you in, I believe, 50 Mondays.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Shane.
All right, there you have it, Greenie. Awesome stuff from Shane Winn, the communications director from the National Sports Collectors Convention. Of course, JBJ Productions is the production arm of the NSCC board, which is represented by the dealers themselves. Just an awesome event, awesome experience. And we want to thank Shane for joining us this evening. We want to thank Hobby Joe, Headband Joe, for joining us for news and views. Greenie, I want to thank you for allowing us to do this every Tuesday. We want everybody to check out Cut the Nonsense tomorrow night at 8 p.m., the first live edition of that for the full show. So, Greenie, thank you, and may the cards forever be in your favor.
Yeah, Jeremy, again, thanks for another great show. Haley got a well-deserved vacation, but I did see she checked in on Instagram, so she is watching. So we look forward to having her back next week. And you held the board pretty well today, and we look forward to another show. So thanks again to Shane and Joe and everybody, and that's it. Have a good night.